Friends, for this I must remind you of the notion that only because something is not done today does not mean it is wrong or not sanctioned by Torah or Halakha. Actually, this form of thinking arose by an unfounded notion that modern rabbis do not make mistakes, or that only because some rabbi says something today that it in some way rewrites Torah and Halakha. Well, friends, this is obviously not the way Judaism functions. For example, I proselytize, and as many also know, I do not hide my beliefs on this issue. And I know that to many this may sound heretical, when, Judaism, as you know, never taught against this. So what's the problem? Oh, what, that your rabbi told you that it's not allowed in Judaism? Well, did you ever ask your rabbi, where does it state this? Did you ever ask if this was halakha or just tradition or custom? And if just a custom, when did it begin? Well, the truth is that there is not, nor has ever been, a prohibition against proselytizing in the Jewish world, neither in Torah nor in any Mishnaic, Hashkafic, nor halachic source. And my friends, I honestly believe that your rabbi knows this very well. As a matter of fact, there are actually many sources that teach that it is actually a good thing to do, which is, as you know, is what I believe and teach. And in my opinion, was also the belief held by most of our Torah leaders throughout history. But again, apart from the many historical sources that can attest to this fact, this is ultimately, from a practical level, just my personal opinion. Not that I would ever say that if a Jew did not actively encourage non-Jews to become Jewish, that they would deliberately be breaking some halakha. However, what rabbis do not have the right to do is to call me a heretic for encouraging people to do so based on logic. Again, because it is a fact that there was never a prohibition not to do so in Judaism, in Torah, nor halakha. And yes, I teach that most Jews throughout history did proselytize, but at least not publicly, mainly because for the last 3,000 years, it has been hazardous to our existence. But not because of Judaism, but solely because of the outside world fighting back against it, and not because, like I said, Jews thought it was a bad idea. Which actually only began post the 13th century, based on some Kabbalistic notion of non-Jews being intrinsically spiritually inferior. Also, friends, what does the word proselytize really mean to you? Because I have a feeling that people understand it to mean something that it really does not mean. In other words, for some crazy reason, many people think that it means forced conversions. Well, friends, it doesn't. It just means encouraging others to consider what you believe, and that's it. In other words, they could take it or leave it. If we believe something to be true, if we truly believe that Torah is goodness codified, why not spread it? It seems very ethically logical to do so, right? It's nothing to attack me about. Because I'm sure you agree that the world would be a better place if we had more Torah-keeping Jews within it. Especially nowadays when the fastest growing religion is Islam. Friends, I've said it before and I'll say it again, that the only way you defeat bad religion is with good religion, not with no religion. And no, the spreading of the primitive 7 laws of Noah does not and will not make this world any better or ever compete with Islam. Next, they say that I believe in quick conversions. And to that I have to ask the question, does anyone know how long a conversion is supposed to take according to halakha? Again, because this will determine whether Rabbi Asher is making up his own Judaism or the modern rabbis are. Well, the answer is brought down in halakha. It states that if a person comes and is sincere, it takes 1 day if the person is a female or a male who's already circumcised, up to 30 days if the male is not circumcised. And this is only to let the wound of the circumcision heal so as not to act as a separation in the mikvah. Now, I have never converted anyone that quickly for many different reasons, but I'm not going to say that teaching so is against Judaism. The truth is, friends, that people do not study halakha anymore, and this is specifically true for rabbis. In other words, they live and practice traditions that only go back a few hundred years and never question if what they're doing is halachically correct or at least sanctioned within halakha. Now, mind you, some rabbis have even outlawed conversion completely in their communities on no halachic basis, or have begun nullifying conversions, which, I don't have to tell you, appears nowhere in halakha. And you know what? I actually heard the story the other day on how someone who converted with an Orthodox rabbi, which at the time was recognized by the Israeli rabbinate as one allowed to perform conversions. Well, anyways, this kid eventually died and was buried in a Jewish cemetery with a Jewish funeral. And later on, the Israeli rabbinate chose to disqualify that rabbi from performing conversions. And then what did the community do? The community nullified that kid's conversions because they said, we no longer recognize this rabbi because the Israeli rabbinate doesn't recognize him either. And what else did they do? They dug up his body and moved it to a non-Jewish cemetery. Do you hear what I'm telling you? Have you ever wondered why no other rabbi mentions this? But Rabbi Asher is the questionable one, caught up in his own ego. Honestly, the only difference between them and I is that I haven't prostituted myself for recognition and a paycheck. Not to mention the fact that they do not even let non-Jews enter their synagogues to pray in places like South America and virtually 95% of the known world. Did you hear me? That they don't let people enter their synagogues to pray to the Almighty. Honestly, do you have to be a convert to feel for them or just be ethical? Also, do you have to be a convert to travel to places where people have been living like Torah Jews for decades, but have not been able to convert because the rabbis in their area banned it? And these people are Torah-observant individuals who, again, are not even allowed to enter the local synagogue to pray. And if they insist, they get arrested. So, what do? I go and I convert them and I help them start their own communities and their own synagogues. And I'm the one starting my own religion. And no, that this is a practice almost completely spearheaded by groups like Chabad, which is one of the main reasons I oppose their ideology. And regarding groups like Chabad and the like that I publicly oppose, friends, you must know that I personally do not have anything against any person of Chabad, but rather have and continue to attack their hateful ideology that fuels that movement. So it's against ideology, not hating Jews, which is a courtesy that rabbis do not show my group. In other words, unlike other pulpit rabbis which I accuse of being puppets of their board, I do not attribute evil intentions to the shluchim of Chabad, but rather I believe that they are just theologically confused, and that's it. Unlike the ad hominem attacks made on me and my group, accusing us of actually having evil intentions. And what's the problem with Chabad's ideology? Well, mainly that they separate the world tribally instead of ethically, by classifying souls as either intrinsically superior or inferior. And it is this idea that drives the whole Chabad hashkafa. The primitive belief that blood still matters. And unfortunately, this ideology has now been adopted by the mainstream Orthodox world, which I would honestly say is one of the main reasons we're hated around the world. Not because we keep Torah, but because we believe and teach that we prefer blood over ethics, which is a concept that I have always taught and backed up with sources as something antithetical to Torah. And this is the whole reason, the sole reason why they prefer non-Jews to remain Noahides or resident aliens. Why? Because they do not want them infecting their spiritual gene pool. And another accusation on why do I make such an effort to help converts or those converting is solely on the fact that I myself am a converting, not out of some altruistic urge. Well, many fail to understand that from a Torah perspective, the ahavtam et hager, loving the convert, is one of the top 3 most important mitzvot in all the Torah that Israel's survival depends on. The other 2 are helping the widow and the orphan. I mean, honestly, when was the last time you ever seen this given any priority in the Jewish world, when we know that the Torah holds it on such a high level? The opposite is actually done. For example, when someone comes to convert, they teach that we supposedly have a law to turn them away. Not once, but at least 3 times. Friends, did you ever ask, where is this in halakha? Because the truth is that it is not there, and it is ultimately just another way of mistreating the convert. And has anyone ever accused these rabbis of making up their own form of Judaism because of this practice of deliberately breaking a Torah command? But Rabbi Asher is the one making up his own Judaism because he does not push away and even encourages them. Friends, the truth is that the job of the Jew in this world is to improve it through Torah. So how are we supposed to improve it if we are proactively hiding it from the masses? Well, on a daily basis, many religious Jews end up dropping Torah for secularism. Or you don't care and just do what your rabbi tells you. Well, that just means that you and your rabbi are moral idiots. In other words, you have people dying to leave Judaism, and at the same time, we're going to make it difficult for new adherents to come in? Again, when there is no halachic or rational reason to do so? Come on, people.